Both rolled 11. Looks like an 8 versus a 5, so Jake will get to play first.
Yeah, it's brutal when you get an 11 and your opponent also does. It feels like you just burned your luck for the match.
We saw, I think in the last round it was Hani versus Pac. There was an 11 versus a 12. Devastation. But it looks like Jake is starting things off with a Scream and then normal summoning Rhino Heart, which since we'll summon a monster, the Scream will mill 3, and then the Rhino Heart will send a tier limit monster from the deck to the graveyard.
So we've got Celiac, Sharon, another Rhino Heart.
Pretty good there for the mills. You get 2 effects you're going to want to use. You could even use the Rhino Heart to summon it back, but unlikely since he's already using the Rhino Heart effect on field to send.
And we'll see if Walter has a response to any of this after the Havness is sent to the graveyard over on Jake's side.
And he's going to be able to activate Sharon, Celiac, and Havness.
Yeah, it's tough when they just hit 3 cards that do things right off the top.
Yeah, it can return really ugly really quickly. Jake taking a moment to consider his options. Looks like he's going to just not use the Havness that he sent. Going to go and trigger the Sharon and the Celiac if I had to guess by reading his motions.
Yeah, it looked like he had Celiac as Chain Link 2.
Maybe to protect the Tillman effect from something like Herald of Orange Light.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case there. Is at this point, I would assume that everybody knows what everybody's playing.
You'd assume it's a mirror match.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate the 2 decks that are not the Ishizu tournaments here in top 16 are actually facing off against each other. So we'll at least know we're guaranteed to have one non-Ishizu tournament deck in the top 8.
So is it like Sprite versus Flaunderies or just 2 of 1?
I don't recall. It's either Sprite versus Sprite or Sprite versus Flaunderies. I don't recall which ones that are still in it, but we in the top 32 we did have 3 Flaunderies and 3 Sprite decks. But 4 of those did get eliminated in that first round of the top cut. But we do see the fusion summon for Kictalos coming down. Now Jake is either going to add a Tiamat card or send one from his deck to the graveyard.
He's going to add Crime.
Tiamat's Crime has been widely used here this weekend. This is my favorite opening with the Ishizu cards, Keldo, discarding Medora to special summon. You get your 2 monsters that have the quick effect to banish from the field or graveyard to shuffle back up to 3 cards from both players. Graveyards back into the deck, online immediately. And when it's summoned, you get to add a monster that mentions Exchange of the Spirit, so you get to grab something like Kelbeck for another point of disruption during the opponent's turn. Looks like he does indeed grab the Kelbeck. And now
Walter's got a Kelbeck.
He's going to go after that Kictalos. Kelbeck on Kictalos is a really strong play.
I don't think we've seen a whole lot of the Kelbeck's in-hand effect so far today.
Yeah, it hasn't resolved at least as much as I'd expected it to. But definitely really instrumental in the mirror match here.
And Jake's considering his Medora effect right here. I'm not sure that you get a ton out of it right now.
I wonder if he has something he can change from his hand to get the Kictalos off the field, and that is what he's thinking. Oh, he does have Super Poly. So he's thinking about using the Super Poly here just so he can resolve his Kictalos effect to mill 5 still, and he does use it. So Super Poly, your own monster, is not something that happens too often. Discards the Kelbeck.
For Rukalos.
Not something you often see some by Super Poly, but here we are. The Kelbeck's still going to summon to the field. Its target to return back, no longer there. And now it is Jake's time to activate his chain links. Super Poly sitting the Kictalos is still by card effect, so he'll be able to mill 5 if he so chooses. And he can trigger the Rhino Heart, so he's going to go Chain Link 1, Rhino Heart, Chain Link 2, Kictalos.
I imagine, you know, maybe not going to use the Kelvac.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. Yeah, I don't think so. 5.
Ah, 2 Bestials, Planet, Herald.
Nothing of value was lost or added here in this case.
And then he pitched the Merly for
the Rhino Heart coming back, and the Merly resolves.
Sorry, where did we get the Merly from?
The Merly was in his hand, and then the Rhino Heart was Chain Link 1 to the Super Poly, so he Super Polyed the Rhino Heart and the Kictalos for Root Kalos, and then he went Chain Link 1 Rhino Heart, Chain Link 2 Kictalos, Kictalos mills 5, Rhino Heart summons back, and then discards on summon, discarding the Merly from his hand.
Oh, the Rhino Heart.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, discarding on the summon.
I thought he used it already.
The return effect, I think he just used the effect to send, and now he's using the effect to discard from his hand when it comes back. So, still okay here. Now, if he were to send a monster from his deck to the graveyard after this,
okay,
we'd have
that would be.
Yeah. So he's still going to look, looks like he might be looking at Dragos Depelia. Oh, nope, going for Kaleido Heart here. Yeah, there's so much to keep track of. It's a lot of once return effects, a lot of going back and forth. But now the Kaleido Heart is going to shuffle back the Keldo. I really love the turn 0 interactions where it's like it is still the first turn, but there's so much that happens in interacting. It kind of feels like you're both playing the game. And now he's going to overlay his 2 level 4 monsters for Abyss Dweller. And then we know he has the crime that he added earlier in the turn, so, but no monsters in hand. He's going to have to add a monster to his hand if he's going to want to use that crime.
It's tough. All right, well, we'll see what happens with the Abyss Dweller.
He's going to go ahead and use his effect to get that Shizu card into the graveyard. I think it's a Keldo. It is. Abyss Dweller trying to keep these tier element players at bay as best as he can.
Does it really count as keeping them at bay if you're summoning it in tier elements?
No, you're keeping your opponent's tier elements at bay. It doesn't make your deck, and it also boosts up all your monsters at the same time.
Yes.
Really lines up really nicely into the deck.
Yes, or at least the water ones. Dark ones, not so much.
Not so much. So Jake definitely in the driver's seat right here. Walter's going to need a combination of cards to get back into this game. He's already down a card because he lost that Kelbeck from his hand initially on the turn 1. So he's only playing with 5 cards to his name. Looks like he's going to terraforming the planet. I'm just going to say that every time now.
It's a good start. It's a good start getting the planet. Planet activates. That's fine too.
So when you get in a position like this, fusion summoning is pretty cut off, but you can still find a way to shuffle back cards to trigger Paralino potentially. But with the, what is he going to need to do? Maybe he make his own Abyss Dweller, attack into the Kaleido Heart, use Dweller's effect, go into Zeus, and then Zeus the rest of the board. That would be maybe his only option here against Jake. But he does grab that Havness off of the Primeval Planet. We've seen a lot of Zeus. A Dweller into Zeus has been a pretty high impactful combination of cards in the mirror match.
So starts off with Scream, discards Mudora to special summon Keldo.
The bread and butter.
And that's going to be negated by Rukalos.
That's going to allow Walter to trigger Havness from his hand. Sends 3 cards. Now Jake is using the Rukalos effect, and he's going to send the Kaleido Heart for Rukalos. And now the Kaleido Heart, since it was sent by a card effect, can special summon back. Chainlink 2, he's going to use the Scream to mill 3 since a monster was summoned. Now Jake isn't under Abyss Dweller. He just hit a Sharon, a Suliak, and a Keldo. He already has the Keldo online, but yeah, that's enough for Walt to see. He knows he's going to fusion summon again. He's under the Dweller. He's not going to be able to fight back. Jake hit the Suliak, which means his Crime is now online because he's going to add a monster to his hand from his deck. Walter's ready to go into game number 2, and now Jake is just 1 game win away from moving on to top 8.
Yeah, that was, like when you see the Dwellers, really not a whole lot that these decks are built to do in game 1 to defeat that Dweller, which it kind of confuses me considering how utterly devastating it is. You know, you might think that you'd see more people running stuff like, we saw Forbidden Droplet.
Forbidden Droplet's a good one, yeah. I did expect to see a lot more Forbidden Droplets, and then Herald of Orange Light we've also been talking about.
Yep.
There's really no way to like chain block the Abyss Dweller effect where you aren't going to be able to respond since it's just a quick effect that activates. You'll always be able to pretty much respond with a Herald of Orange Light.
It seems that people with more like, they've done called Bystials, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just packing their deck full of Bystials to try to cut off the fusions and only the fusions. And, you know, we were talking about this leading up to the event. Diversity in defensive cards, so that you can play as many of the things as you draw as possible. And I wonder if maybe they're clogging their decks up with too many Bystials and not really diversifying the amount of situations that they can deal with.
Yeah, I think that might be a pretty good read on the situation because, yeah, you definitely, I do like that diversity option. You want to have, you were mentioning earlier, it's better to have 1 of each Bystial than 3 of the same one in your hand at once. So, yeah, I really like that diversity option. I do think that might be the case. I am a big fan of the Bestials. I do like packing as many Bestials as I can, but when you got to trade off, if you're going to be losing to something like a Abyss Dweller over and over again, the Bestials aren't going to really help you there. Sure, they're going to touch down on the board, cut off a fusion summon, but yeah, you mentioned the Abyss Dweller is just so devastating.
And it's not like the Shizu cards are light and dark either. There's not a whole lot you can do about that.
Nope.
You can't force out the Keldos. They're just there.
And the more you mill, the tougher. Even if you shuffle them back with like Mudora or Keldo, chances are they're just going to mill more copies of them later on in the turn as well. A lot of intricacies to the format, but you see like the same players doing well consistently. You know, in a difficult format, it can really show that there is a skill level to it where you can, if you do practice and play a lot, you will learn the deck in and out and feel more comfortable while you're playing.
Hey, just look at the top 32 list, and you'll probably recognize a ton of those people.
I know I do for sure. Look at these 2 wonderful duelists we have here. Both of these are World Championship competitors, and they're going at it and about ready to go into game number 2. Walter will get a chance to go first in this game, though. We even saw like Super Poly being used there to just make sure that he was able to get the Kictalis into his graveyard and continue his plays. So definitely a smart play from Jake to win that game number 1. We'll see if he's going to continue on with those smart plays and take it 2-0, or if Walter will bounce back and even the series out here in game number 2.
All right, Walter is up first. Starting out with a Reinhardt.
It's a solid normal summon. This is the scary part. This is where the Bestials come into play quite often, is when it's just a Reinhardt with 1 effect. A Bestial could cut you off completely, and it's just going to be Herald of Orange Light, but discarding Keldo. So he gets double the action there.
That's Herald of Orange Light on the monster in the graveyard. Sharon.
Indeed, and now Primeval Planet coming down for Walter. We'll see what he decides to add. So maybe holding off on the planet to try and make his hand seem a little weaker than it actually was, to maybe catch Jake on using something like Herald of Orange Light early. But with the Keldo being discarded, he's also going to be able to shuffle back at least 1 other monster.
double Reinhardt.
Oh, man.
There we go again with the double planets getting hit off at the top. At least you drew one this time. At least you'd already drawn one this time.
And now he also has that Medora, so that will be helpful, because now he can use the Medora right away if he wanted to shuffle back the Keldo, but Jake, seeing that, is going to use his Keldo right away. Looks like he might be trying to put the planets back in his deck. You put in more cards. No, he's going for the monsters. But you could put back the planets back, just more cards that are bad to mill, and try and increase your chances of your opponent not getting lucky. Okay, so
Walter is bringing back the Reinhardt, pitching Merle.
Just the Merle here.
Yeah.
We almost saw what we were worried about in that last game happen, where he's trying to send twice with Reinhardt on accident.
Those heralds are just really strong.
Yeah, it's one of the most impactful cards of this format for sure. And now Kiktalos is being summoned here. Let's see what Walter decides to add. Will it be Sulliek? Will it be Crime? Could be Havnis.
So the effects I've used has been Merle and Sharon, right?
Yeah, Merle, Sharon, and both of Reinhardt's effects have been used.
So one fusion is left.
Looks like he grabs the Merle.
Can't affect her itself.
So Kit is going to use the effect to summon Merle from the hand. When Merle summons, it's going to mill 3. Kiktalos, when it's sent by a card effect, will mill 5. So we get 8 total mills.
Lots of bestials.
Bestial, Keldo, Medora, Tier Elements. He hit the Havnis, which was the last one he needed.
There you go.
This is a pretty good turn here for Walter.
He just had to drop like 13 cards at the graveyard to get 1.
Let's see what is up next for him. Looks like it is going to be Kaleido Heart with Merle's effect. Or Havnis effect, sorry.
And he uses the one that's not going to be banished. Kaleido Heart.
He's going to use the planet's effect to target his Kaleido Heart to destroy it. Now it's sent to the graveyard by card effect. Will special summon itself back and allow him to send a tier element card from his deck to the graveyard.
He sends Scream, which Scream will let him get a trap.
So now he has Sulliek and Havnis in hand. An overlay here for Abyss Dweller coming down for a rank 4.
And that would make him out of fusions now. So he sets one face down, and that'll do.
Gonna check to see if Jake has super polymerization. He does not, so Walter can use Abyss Dweller's effect. Attaches the Sharon.
Got another Herald? No?
Yeah, sometimes I want to just hang on to that Herald just to hit the Abyss Dweller. Not the case here for Jake. And so he activated Scream, summons Merle. He's going to mill 6 here if it's all good, but Abyss Dweller turning off his graveyard effects. Ooh, Ghost Mourner. That's an interesting tech to have in the deck.
That's a cool card.
So we've got some Mudoras, we've got a Bestial, we've got Ghost Mourner, and we've got Tearlaments. tier elements which cannot use their effects.
What is Jake up to next? How is he going to navigate this tough situation? Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do or what options he's considering. The writing is on the wall. He has a bunch of cards that don't do anything. First an Abyss Dweller, and he scoops them up.
Yeah, the option is let's just go first next game.
Yeah, let me make Abyss Dweller first, hopefully. Yeah, I think a lot of players may not have put enough emphasis on how to beat Abyss Dweller going into this weekend. I mean, cards like Super Poly, they can be play around, but sometimes that's their only way to actually deal. Like, you see that Kaleido, or I guess Kaleido, it wouldn't be Kaleido Heart, it would be Rukalos and Abyss Dweller to use for Super Poly.
I don't think I've seen a single game in this mirror match where the first player made Abyss Dweller and the other person came back. Like, maybe one where they just drew so poorly that Abyss Dweller was and there was nothing else.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you gotta do. You can just make a rank 4. It's either you got Baguska where everyone's gonna try and be a little sleepy, you're gonna put all the monsters in defense mode, or you just go for the Dweller and hope they don't have anything that can attack over a 2200 monster usually, but sometimes you gotta put your faith in what you can do and just hope for the best.
It's tough to get those 2200 monsters when you can't use your graveyard effects.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now going into game 3, I know going second is not gonna feel good for Walter, but it gives an opportunity to put in some side cards, maybe some effects from the hand. I know a lot of people going second have been citing Siphon Gear Gamma and Driver. We've seen that make a lot of impact this weekend. But, you know, it's tough when Jake is going first. He's going to have the option to set up his deck correctly, make sure he's going to have Prime, Soliak online. We haven't even seen the most optimal play from either one of these decks yet, so maybe this game 3 is going to turn things around.
And I know there's been like a lot of Winter Cherries and Spooky Dogwood. And it's like, okay, you can play Moonlit Chill here, but it doesn't help you at all against the actual card that makes you lose.
The Abyss Dweller, yep. That's like Herald Orange, like maybe if he held that, or is it tough to just hold the Herald all the way for the Abyss Dweller?
It's just so tempting.
Especially when it's just a normal summon of the Rhino Heart.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to the play for Walter. Normally you see players snap activate Primeval Planet right away first, but he knew if he started with that Rhino Heart, no planet, it might lead Jake to think his hand is weaker than it actually is. But we'll have to see how the players draw. It looks like Jake's still considering some of his side deck options. Finishing up. Still plenty of time on the clock here going into game number 3. Showing you even these mirror matches can go by quickly.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any like the real crazy turns in this one.
Yeah.
You know, where you're both dropping 10 cards in your graveyard.
No, neither of these players have been bold enough to trigger a Yugioh or Kelbeck quite yet.
Not that Abyss Dweller would allow such a thing.
Abyss Dweller has been a big key in this matchup so far, and I imagine we are going to also see it here in game number 3. Players getting ready. You know, I knew Ashizu was going to do good this weekend, but I didn't know it was going to do this good. No, I'm just kidding. I knew it was going to be up there. And now we're in game number 3 of top 16, YCS Pasadena. Is it going to be Ashizu tier limits, or will it be Ashizu tier limits winning this round?
Historically, I don't think we've ever had a 32 out of 32 deck.
Yeah,
we've had 131 with Zodiac and 130 with Spiral. But this is more on like the Necroz to Dragon Ruler scale.
Yeah, that makes sense. We had like, what, 26, I think, out of 32?
26.
Yeah, that's a lot.
26.
There's 26 plus 3 Flunderies and 3 Sprite. One of the 26, though, did have Sprite included in the tier limit deck.
True.
So they kind of half get the pass. But Rhino Heart is met by Havnus. Havnus, it looks like Walter milled a Mudora, and the Rhino Heart finishes its effect to send down Sharon.
Tell you what, it makes the data collection a lot more difficult when you just play every deck all at once.
It definitely does. What do they play? Oh, yeah, a little bit of everything. Oh, it looks like he also milled a Soliak on top of the Mudora. See if he uses the Mudora here to shuffle back the Sharon. Looks like he is going to do it. So this Hovness being really key here, basically countering the normal summon of Rhino Heart from Jake.
Yeah, that was my brother.
Walter adds Rhino Heart off of Soliak.
Ooh, and Triple Tactics Talent's going to load Jake up with 2 more cards.
And that's the card I thought we were going to see a lot of this weekend, and we have indeed. And now he gets to refresh his hand, get a couple more. Oh, maybe he drew into that one.
Instant fusion.
That's a good one of.
Ooh, ooh.
And you have to imagine, since he used the Triple Tactics Talent to draw 2, he didn't have that instant fusion previously. So definitely probably one of the cards he got off of it.
All right, so Kit Close on the field. It's going to send, looks like Merle. Or add Merle. One of the two. Add. And we're going to activate Kit Close, special summon Merle, while sending Kit Close to the graveyard. And that's going to trigger Chain Link 1 Kit Close, Chain Link 2 Merle.
Yes.
It'll send 3 and 5 for 8 total. Super Poly, Herald, Merle, Keldo, Mudora, a Bestial, another Keldo, and Sharon.
Pretty good mills. The first 3, they were okay, but the next 5 are quite strong.
Well, that might be all the graveyard interaction you need for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Keldo and Mudora online.
The Murder.
Oh, and he does have a Bestial in hand. It looks like Saronir. And he's going to go after the Merle. You want to give the Merle since it's level 2?
It's a matter of whether or not you decide you want to put it back in right now. Back into the deck.
I mean, he does have the 2 Keldos, so if he uses one, he'll have the other one during Walter's turn as well.
So he's used, what, 2 of the fusion effects now?
I think...
Oh, no,
just one, yeah.
Fusion.
Yeah, just the instant fusion. So he just has whatever he's activating right now. Could be Sharon and Merle.
It's nicer that you could wait until they make all the chain links and then you play.
Oh, no, he did trigger one. I think it was one because he sent down with Rhino Heart and then,
right, and then it
Walter
got hit
Medora.
by Medora.
Yeah.
Presumably it was Sharon, if it's Merle that's being banished.
I think so. That would make sense.
All right, so things looking up. Things looking up for Walter. His opponent does not have the planet yet. Only 1 level 4 monster on the field. Hasn't been able to actually resolve a Tearlament fusion effect, though he did pick up instant fusion with Triple Tactics Talent. I think Walter's doing quite well, all things considered.
Oh, yeah, especially after that mill from Jake. Definitely not doing too bad. Having the Hotness was really helpful, getting the Soliak and the Budora right away. And having a Bestial against Tearlament is just huge. You get that body on the board before you even started your turn, and you're disrupting their fusion summoning, because they can only do it so many times. But it looks like Magnumit is going to banish a Magnumit, triggering its effect on summon to add a dragon at the end phase. So we'll at least know Jake will have a Bestial in hand for Walter's next turn.
Now we get a Link summon. For Sprite Elf. Elf looks like he's going to bring back the Herald. Nope. It's Merle after all. He was looking at that Herald for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, notice the Merle. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to get this guy instead. It might be a little bit better. Now maybe a Link summon, an Xyz summon.
Oh, is he running the gigantic Sprite?
Maybe just Gin Bust? No, it could be Gin Buster. Oh no, it is
It's got to be gigantic Sprite because you can't use a Link monster.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is the only one it can make. I'm so used to it having a gigantic Sprite. Well, is he playing a small Sprite package? No, right? This is interesting. Where is he going? What level 2? I guess he's going to summon...
Maybe just a
Merle?
a Merle or a Herald or something?
Interesting.
Is it Diviner?
Diviner,
Yep, Diviner.
okay. That makes sense. But what do you do with the Diviner now?
Send something to the graveyard, boost its level.
And then, I guess just set up a Keldo or a Medora? Yeah, that's like, the only thing you can do is dump one of these because he's locked out of the level 5 or higher.
I don't know, because the level 6 now, right? So he could make Baran if he's got it.
He's Gigantic Sprite. So
no, he's Gigantic Sprite, right?
yeah.
He can't.
So he's just locked into just the Medora, but not terrible. He can still link it away into a Sprite Elf. Interesting. This is probably the first time I've seen Gigantic Sprite used in the Shizu deck without any Sprite cards in it.
Yeah, looking at him there, maybe trying to cool off his brain a little bit.
I don't think he's in the position he wants to be in. Oh, this is just in phase. Walter already having monsters on the board. He knows he has a Rhino Heart in his hand. Walter in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that turned really sideways. We'll see how much damage the elf can do during Walter's turn. Walter starts with terraforming.
That's huge. Oh, you can see on our little ticker, it says top 16, table 3, Jesse K defeats Samuel. So I think that sounds like Jesse's moving on to top 8.
Ooh.
That'll be something I'm looking forward to.
Discards Mudora, special summon Keldo. Oh, it's looking pretty good.
That's my favorite opening.
It's going to force out an activation from Jake here.
He does have Keldo in Medora in his graveyard and a Beastal Druisworm in hand. So it's at least 3 interactions.
Lets that one go.
And now Walter will be able to use Medora to force out the Ishizu cards from Jake's graveyard. Because I believe he has 2 Keldos and 1 Medora. Yep, that's where Walter's going to next. Let me see how many Ishizu cards are in here. Yep, 1, 2, 3. Yep, he is going to use the Medora. You have to force out your opponent's effects before you start sending stuff to the graveyard.
Presumably it's just all of them.
I think he might have 4, so he's going to go for just the multiple copies of one of them, and then the Merle as well. Interesting to go for Merle. Maybe he's trying to force out the Sprite Elf effect right away. Maybe he has something like Triple Tactics Talent. Jake taking a moment. Fanning's graveyard out, but not quite in the way where I can tell how many of these Shizu cards are in there specifically. All the images are just covered up just kind of perfectly.
Yeah, my eyes aren't that good. I can't read all those names.
So he's going to chain Elf. Imagine targeting the Merle. And now see, it wasn't Triple Tactic Talent, it was Havness that Walter was trying to activate. I figured by going after Merle, he's trying to force Jake to decide to use the effect. Now it makes sense why. Walter still hasn't even normal summoned, and he has the Rhino Heart in his hand, and Primeval Planet Paralino. There's a lot more coming after all this.
I wonder if he's got a Bestial too.
He might.
That'd be brutal if after all of this, you know, the Burley that's being special summoned back gets banished by a Bestial. Or Jake's forced to put it back himself with one of his Ishizu cards.
Yep. He's going to use the Keldo from the field. This is why this plays the favorite. If you Keldo discard Medora, you're putting Medora in the graveyard immediately to activate, and the Keldo. So you have 2 quick effects you can activate to shuffle back cards right away. And you get to add on top of that.
Well, Jake's going to chain Havness.
This is what we've been looking for. It's about to be some milling.
And what else is he going to chain? Well, we're resolving it now. Havness first. Drops 3. That's Scream, called by the Grave Paralino. So there's going to be a trap card coming Jake's way. Won't be able to play it this turn.
Your Keldos and the murder. Then my Havness.
Next, those 3 going back to the deck. Then Walter's Havness, hitting Keldo, Kel back, instant fusion.
And your whatever's.
Then Terraforming is finally going to resolve.
Yeah,
Would you believe this is all in response to Terraforming?
I even said like he had it already in his hand. I assumed it was already there.
Last Keldo, I think. Goes back.
Oh no, he's shuffling it back. Okay.
And then a Budora.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah.
Now in a new chain.
I've heard that phrase quite a lot this weekend. Now after that resolves, chain link 1.
This one's easy though. Scream is just going to get Sulliak. Easy. Now we get the normal summon of Rhino Heart.
Doesn't use the planet just yet. I wonder why he didn't activate the planet. And that's going to force out the Druid Worm, going after the Havness that activated on Walter's side. So Jake getting another monster for protection and a little layer of disruption, unless Walter shuffles it back into the deck with something like Kaleido Heart. Walter should be able to finish the game here, unless Jake has some more effects from his hand that he can use.
That's Druid's Worm, right? So that's that can take down something. I can eat an attack and take something down with it, unless Walter tucks it back into the deck with something.
Yeah, it's going to be Kaleido Heart he's looking for. So sends the top 3. Ooh, Ghost Reaper, that's a cool one. Oh, that's another way. If you're having trouble with Abyss Dweller, you can just Ghost Reaper it. Or you can just go straight for the Kick Talos.
All right. Finally hits a fusion. This one's going to go through.
Finally, Kick Talos will come down. You can kind of tell by Jake's demeanor. I think he knows the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, was not able to get to Abyss Dweller on his first turn. And this is what happens.
Could call us a bit to search or whatever. Search or dump.
Walter's still considering what he wants to do. Sends down Sharon with Kick Talos effect. Yeah, so he'll... Okay, so he needs to get rid of the Sprite Elf with the planet before he summons the Kaleido Heart so he can target the Druid Worm. So that's the only thing that Walter needs to make sure he does correctly. Which is not hard, because he could just summon one fusion monster. He's just going to make sure he needs to be able to still fusion summon after summoning here. Yep, and he's going to go after the elf. Yep. Not surprised that Walter knows what he has to do. He could just Abyss Dweller the Druid Worm as well and not even need the Kaleido Heart.
That's probably easier that way.
And all his monsters are getting boosted by that planet.
Or the Abyss Dweller, or both.
That's a lot of extra damage.
So the Dweller's at 22. The Mud Dragon gets, what, 500 from Dweller and 500 for being a fusion monster?
I think so, yeah. Now Dweller is detaching Sharon. Goes to battle, attacks over the Druid Worm.
Check the 29.
And now the 2900 one.
That's a big Mud Dragon.
Yep. It is plus 500 for being water and plus 500 for being a fusion.
You took 14? Yeah. 9. 500, 500.
Oh, everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
That Walter knows. It's fusion monsters.
Attack for 900.
It's definitely important to know all the little details of your cards as you're using them. You want to gain every little edge you can.
21.
And Jake's going to be at some small lot of life points after all these attacks go through. He cleared the board, leaving Jake on only a couple cards in hand. Nothing really in the graveyard. And a formidable board here for Walter.
And then those two are headed away. Making sure he's got something legal to make with them, I assume. Yep. Here we go. Now we've got the Link summoned for Dark. Dark's can pick something else up out of the graveyard.
Does he have a Beasteel? He could take his Beasteel and make a rank 6.
Do you think, does he play Beatrice?
He might. I'm a big fan of Wallow, the founder of the Dredge Dragons.
Yep.
That's a cool one.
That is
Darkwing Blast. Just going to take the Gigantic Sprite.
Interesting. Is he going to put Zeus on top of it? No, he's going to make...
I guess I was wrong. I guess everyone uses Gigantic Sprite.
He's going to make a Link 2, make his own, make Downer Magician, and then make Zeus.
Wow, that's a lot of materials.
Why make Zeus with not enough materials to do anything when you can make it with 4 materials?
But this is, yeah, I was talking about in the mirror match. Dweller plus Zeus, really, really strong.
King in standby phase.
King in standby phase using Dweller.
It doesn't look like Jake has anything to stop this.
He'll probably chain his Ishizu effects.
Oh, Jake is at 100 life points. Not much left, but all you need is one.
Set 1, set 2. We know he's got Sulliak.
Yeah, he's like, I can't do anything. I'm
set
at
1,
100.
set 2, set Scoop.
Wow, what an epic match. You know, we really get to see the power of the Shizu Tillman deck when Walter or, you know, other veteran duelists, you know, pilot it. They know everything is meticulous, everything is in order, nothing is just random. It's really, really awesome.